For if you surrender this ground, the entire Army of the Potomac will be captured, and we will lose the Battle of Gettysburg. And the Army of Northern Virginia will continue to march south to Washington, D.C. Colonel Chamberlain was not a professional military officer. But Colonel Chamberlain answered the call of this great nation, and he found himself as a leader on that day. And the Confederates came at him time and time again on that hot July day in 1863. Casualties mounted. They ran out of water. They ran out of ammunition. And the men of the 20th Maine turned to Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain and asked, what should we do, sir? Because they're coming again. Colonel Chamberlain said one word that had never been said in the Union Army. It changed the Battle of Little Round Top, changed the Battle of Gettysburg, changed the future of the United States of America, because the Union was able to finally defeat the Army of Northern Virginia. He said, bayonets. No matter how dire it seems, you must resolve yourselves to fix your bayonet and charge into this enemy. It is not over, no matter how many wins they have to this point. No matter how many times they keep charging up that hill, you stand your ground because you're right. You stand your ground because Lawrence Chamberlain did. You stand your ground because the Minutemen of Lexington and Concord did. You stand your ground because General McAuliffe did at the Battle of Bastogne when he was asked to surrender, when he told the Germans, nuts. You stand your ground just like General Chesty Puller did at Chosin Reservoir in Korea when he was surrounded by the Chinese. And he said, I got the bastards right where I want them because I've been attacked in any direction. You stand your ground like Colonel Hal Moore did. The Battle of the Idrain Valley. His battalion was surrounded, outnumbered 5 to 1. And he looked at his men and he said one simple thing. We're going to win this fight. Leave here tonight knowing who you are, because we know who they are, and know that you're going to win this fight, because we can't afford to lose. Because our children and our grandchildren are dependent upon us to fix our bayonets and hold the line. So God bless you all. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, sure. I thought you said the news, but yeah, sure.
If you're coming around, please raise your hand if you want to ask a question. Do not make a statement. Please, you don't have that time. Ask a question, and Howard West will answer that question. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yes. Good. I would dare to assume that there are at least a couple of Jews up here.
Couple of Jews.
So I'll ask you a maybe funny question, because for me, from the Jews, asking not the Jews.
Righteous Gentile.
Yeah. But the question is such. How can we move along with what we're talking about today, with confronting Islam? And I know that we cannot be political tonight. But generally speaking, all fake records, all violations that are happening in our country.
Yeah.
When we, as Jews, we are saying we do not understand that folks like Axelrod, like Manuel, like Feinstein, Feingold, Webster. No, let's not talk about that. Okay, if they, I would use the word betray us. So how can we move ahead and to reach our goals, protection Jews as us, as religious, as nation, call it whatever you want, I call it as a nation, and America as a whole.
Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you, Dimitri. I think one of the things you have to understand is that this is truly a bipartisan issue. leadership is not, Republican and Democrat. This is a failure of leadership all across this country. I will tell you one of the things about George Bush. George Bush got snookered into taking his shoes off, going into some mosque and talking about Islam was a religion of peace. So then how can you say that as the President of the United States and then go into combat operations? I mean, it's very, it doesn't make sense. So, we've got to have people, and you've got to get out there and evaluate these candidates. And evaluate people that are going to Washington. You've got to ask them the tough questions. We're not asking people the tough questions. We really are not. We're not holding people's feet to the fire like we should. Plato, some of you may have heard me say this before, and Joyce had this on her email. But Plato said, those who refuse to engage in politics will be governed by their inferiors. He said that back in 400 some odd BC. And that's where we are right now in the United States of America. Because we're not holding them accountable. We're not asking them the tough questions. They're starting to believe that you are going to. And look what they're doing. They're quitting left and right. So you've got to, first of all, get the people with the right type of mindset up there that are not afraid. I say this so many times. Two great quotes that, I don't know, when I was out running, I came up with. But the reality of your enemy must become your own. And that is the main thing that we are confronted with right now. When people are telling you, and I had a great interview when I was in Israel, first week of December, with Haaretz, did I say that right? Haaretz newspaper. And I sat down and talked with, and it's a kind of liberal left paper, and I understood that. But I sat down and I was talking to the young lady who was interviewing me, and we got to going about this whole thing, and, about maybe we should just cede the land and give it to them. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, if every day a person wakes up and tells you, I want to kill you. I mean, and this goes on for quite some time. I said, what is your response to that? She says, well, I probably need to sit down with them and ask them what is upsetting them. And I responded to her by saying, it's your existence that upsets you. Yes. And that's what people have to realize. It's your existence. Now, the other thing that you got to realize is when tolerance becomes a one-way street, it leads to cultural suicide. We are very tolerant people in the United States of America, but you know what? It's time to get a little love back. And until I start to see some love coming back, yes, I'm going to stand against this thing. Because I am not going to make my country and my people and our Judeo-Christian heritage subservient to anyone else.
Yes.
Okay.
When I was an undergrad at the University of Delaware in the mid-1970s,
Blue Hands.
Yes, Vice President of Blue Hands. I had a very controversial and talked about political science professor that was not only so much opposed to gun control, but he said that he wants the federal government to issue gun stamps similar to food stamps so that poor people can have free guns. Because he thinks it creates a more intimidating atmosphere for any potential oppressor of the American people or a foreign enemy. How much is gun control an issue as far as the fight against radical Islam? Is this something that could potentially mitigate against what we're fighting against?
I mean, and understand this, the founding fathers were very smart. The Second Amendment makes sure you keep your First Amendment.
Yes.
Okay? Now, the other thing is this, very simple. Look at what's going on in Iran. Okay? When you take people and turn them into sheep, that's what happens. And remember, Thomas Jefferson says, freedom, liberty is when the government fears the people. Tyranny is when the people fear the government. Wow. There was a reason why they put the Second Amendment in there. Never forget, mid-30s in Germany, what did Hitler suspend? Private gun ownership. So no, we don't need to have any chips or stamps or whatever. Americans have the right to go out and bear arms, and that's the bottom line too. Yes.